All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Food Gaming. This is a very late night edition. This is a sleepy show. All right, we're going to be talking about some of these PS5 apologists. I've been seeing a lot of people apologizing for Sony lately, building Sony's new product up as if it's, as if it's equal to the PC, to personal computer components like a 3060 graphics card or a 4070, saying it's basically equal to a PC card, and people could not be further from the truth. I mean, there's so much freedom and versatility on a PC. You cannot compare it to a closed system like a PlayStation 5 Pro, which you're basically, when you buy this thing, you gotta take whatever Sony gives you. That's what it is. It's not a versatile, it's not a flexible system. It's not a system that you can really do anything with outside of just get whatever the hell Sony wants you to have. So, for example, like, look, if I go and I buy this thing, right? Can I play my copy of Until Dawn from the PS4 at 120 frames? At 4K? No, I can't. It stays just as it was in the PS4. Now I can go and re-buy the game again, right? The one they just put out recently. The whatever edition they put out for the PS5. I can play that one. And I just gotta hope that Sony updates it. Now, if I play Until Dawn, the release that Sony put out, the one they just put out, the same one that's on a PS5. If I put that into a 4070 card, I might be able to play that at 60, 90 frames, 120 frames, that kind of thing. I can lower settings. I can do all kinds of stuff with it, right? There's a mod communities out there. They might like turn the characters into Barney the dinosaur or something. I don't know what the hell people want to do, but there's a lot of versatility there. Also, people might do things like remove the DRM, right? Because Sony loves DRM, right? We're going to be looking at that later. Michael Pachter's predicting exactly what I said. He said that he predicts that the next consoles won't even have disk drives. And recently I put out a show that was talking about what Sony's been doing when it comes to DRM. People, you don't own your games anymore. So why would you go out and buy a PS5 Pro? What, so you can continue not owning your games? Just get on the time for PC gaming is I think the golden age of PC gaming is it's almost here. The consoles are basically killing themselves. These companies are killing these consoles with all this DRM. That's what I think. Too much of it. And also there's not a bunch, like I said, there's not enough flexibility here to justify purchasing this console. And there's not enough improvements. I think if you love PlayStation or whatever, you're into PlayStation, just wait for the next PlayStation. And if they don't have a disc drive on the next PlayStation, just ditch it and buy a PC. Just save your money. Maybe you just take the money that you were going to use on a PS5 Pro and take your PS5 and sell it and buy a PC. That's it. Because all your Sony games are all going to the PC. It's at that point already, people. You can't compare this to a graphics card upgrade on a PC. It's not even close, people. But we're going to be watching some of these apologists. We're going to be building this up as it's equal to a PC. And bro, it's the same thing, man. It's like you upgrade your graphics card. It's like, okay. Okay, right. 1 second, please. Just got to organize some of this stuff. This is a last minute feed, people. This is Food TV, the sleepy edition. Very, very late over here, but I'm gonna do this video anyway because I'm awesome. All right. Okay, here we go. This is a guy named, I've seen his videos before, and it's kind of weird that he's really trying to sell this thing to people, which is, to me, is just odd. This is a guy that he's always talking about PC components. He's always talking about PC. And now he's really building up the PlayStation the PlayStation 5 Pro here. He really wants people to buy it.
Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to talk about a few topics. We're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro sales. As well, we're going to talk about an article written by WCCF Tech. Now, WCCF Tech, they carry a lot of tech-related news, especially PC stuff. And they say some interesting things on the upgrade that you're going to get from the PlayStation 5 Pros. Now, a lot of people are saying the PlayStation 5 Pro is not selling out like it's some type of failure because it's not selling out. Just because it is not selling
I think it not selling out would be the definition of a failure.
out does not mean that the console is not selling well. Now, I've said it before on X that the PlayStation 5 Pro is in the pre-production phase. Of course, they have a lot of consoles stockpiled, but also the pre-order is to kind of judge the interest for the PlayStation 5 Pro, so they know how many consoles to make. So it's not necessarily going to sell out. And just because it doesn't sell out, it doesn't mean that the console is not selling well. Now, the Xbox Series X...
I don't understand why he needs to clarify this. Why does he care if it sells well? And I understand that it needs to sell well, because if it doesn't sell well, then they have no incentive to actually upgrade anything for it. People don't understand this. Again, unlike the PC, where if you buy yourself a 4070 card or 3060, they're saying this thing is equivalent to possibly a 3060, people. 3060 or 4070. They're all over the place with it. But if we're going to believe that this is the equivalent to a 4070 graphically, then it's like I said, unlike the PC, on the PC, it doesn't matter if the 4070 doesn't sell. You're still going to be able to use that card to upgrade every single game that has ever existed. We're talking about thousands of games. You can run emulators. You can play old games from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever. You're going to get upgrades on everything. But when it comes to this thing is like a closed system. Sony's got to come in, for the most part, they got to come in and start adding these upgrades. For example, things like textures, new lighting effects, ray tracing, and so on. They have to add that. Or the developer has to come in and add it, right? The users aren't going to be able to add these features to it. Like the PC, you have you have people modding stuff, just regular users. You're not going to have that on here. So if this system flops, then they have no incentive to upgrade anything. So you're basically screwed. You have a paperweight. You basically have yourself a PS5 that costs you $700. That's what you have. And I understand there's going to be some upgrades with this because the hardware is improved, right? So most likely what you're going to get is when you have your dynamic resolution games, possibly you're going to have that's going to reach the top of that resolution cap. So if the game is dynamic 1440p or dynamic 4K, you may possibly get the high end of that, right? The very top of it, or it's going to fluctuate, but you're going to get to that high end more often, right? So it'll be 4K more often. And then in the case of certain games, just as long as it wasn't CPU bottlenecked, if it was GPU bottlenecked, so if it was 60, then you're probably going to get a solid 60. If it's the GPU that was bottlenecking. If it was the CPU, then the games will run exactly as they did on a basic PS5. And that's pretty sad. And you have no way of upgrading that CPU. So, again, this is not the same as a PC in many different ways.
As well as the new 2 terabyte version that they're offering for $600, and the Series S, they're not selling well. They're not selling as good as the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, if you go over to GameStop in the States, you will see that it's on their number 2 best selling list. As well as Amazon, as I have up on the screen right now, as you can see, it's sitting at number 2 right now. This is Friday evening. It is about 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And as you can see, the PlayStation 5 Pro is sitting at number 2 in the best sellers in video games. It's only behind a $10 PlayStation Store gift card. At number 3, we have an Xbox gift card. At number 6, we got a PS5 College Football 25 game.
We're waiting for him to get to the good part. Sorry, people.
I'm just gonna kind of go down the list here. At number 9, we got Metaphor. Now this game is like selling gangbuster numbers. It's not my type of game, but apparently it's selling a lot. A lot of people like it. And look where it's being sold the most on, the PlayStation 5. As well, you got the PlayStation 5 console at number 10. Now I'm just gonna kind of scroll down the list so you can see the hardware. You got the MetaQuest, you got a PlayStation 5 controller, you got Madden 25 for the Xbox. You know, at number 24, we have the PlayStation Portal remote player. We
Beta.
still do not have Xbox hardware, and we're at number 24 on the best-selling list. Once again, let me refresh your guys' memories. Number 2 is a PlayStation 5 Pro.
He's not making any sense because he keeps relating this to the Xbox Series hardware. The Xbox Series has been around for almost 5 years, people. This is a natural progression of consoles or any piece of hardware. Over time, they don't sell as well as they originally did. So if you were to compare this PS5 Pro to the sales of the Xbox 4 years ago, I bet the Xbox sales would be blowing it away. So look, this is a new piece of hardware, right? So people obviously, they don't give a shit what this thing is, right? You know, you look at like the iPod, right? The iPad, sorry, or iPhone. You know, they make a new one every year or something, every couple of years, and everyone acts like it's a new thing. And it's really not. And they buy it simply because it's new. And this is no different. People are going to buy this. They're going to have it in short supply, and people are going to buy it because it's the new thing on the block. Even though in many ways it's not really doing much different, right? It's really not. You're getting these upgrades. You could barely notice the difference. From what I see from Digital Foundry, they're showing these supposed upgrades. People, these games aren't even doing 4K. They showed The Last of Us. It's using this pisser technology to make it fake 4K. Like, this is basically PS4 Pro Part 2. Like, bro, like, why isn't it doing 4K? Why isn't it doing a higher frame rate? And the reason why is because it's CPU limited. I think that's one of the reasons. So this thing, they showed Last of Us 2 running on it, right? It's not doing 4K. Not at 60. I think they have another mode that I think is native 4K 30. And that, you know, that looks sharp. That looks sharper than their 60 frame mode because it's native 4K. The other thing is a fake 4K. I don't care what they call it. People keep pretending like this AI upscaling. Like now upscaling is like some new revolution. Like people are acting like upscaling is amazing. No, it's not. If the system cannot do 4K, the reason for it is it's because it's not up to snuff. It's not powerful enough to do 4K. That's what's happening. And so basically they released this thing and they want to do both at the same time, right? The 4K and the supposed graphical upgrades. And it's not able to do it. And also, when you look at Last of Us 2, there are no upgrades to it outside of this fake 4K. That's really what it is. It's the same with the Horizon. With Horizon Forbidden West. From what I saw in Digital Foundry, it's fake 4K. It's using this pisser or whatever technology, this upscaling technology, which is basically a fancier name, what they're calling it, PSSR, whatever. It's just a fancier, more hyped up version of checkerboard rendering in my book. It's fake resolution. That's what it is. And I mean, this is what Sony does, people. They just fucking lie. They hype up bullshit. They're going to say, oh, well, it's the new pisser technology. No, bro, it's fake 4K. That's what it is. It's upscaled fake 4K. And like I said in my video I put out yesterday, when the Xbox did upscaled 720p, right? What was it? Was it 720p to 1080p. They did upscaling. And all they did the whole generation was shit on the Xbox and say, it's not real 1080p. It's not real 1080p. So now we have fake 4K, some more fake 4K, you know, because they already did this fake 4K shit with the PS4 Pro, where they were doing fake 1440p and fake 4K. Now we're going back to fake 4K again.
Number 10 is the PlayStation 5 console. So the PlayStation 5 Pro is actually outselling the PlayStation 5. And we already know that the PlayStation...
Which, once again, means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I said this in my very first video about this PS5 Pro. These systems have run their course. Anyone who wanted a PS5 already has one. So the people that are buying this possibly are PS5 owners or people who never owned the PS5. But I think a lot of these people are the enthusiasts who believe that this thing is going to be something good, something amazing. They think they're getting 4K. They believe in the pisser technology, and they're going to go out and buy it for a very short period of time. But I think once the real information starts coming out about this, a lot of people aren't really going to care. And their competition, really, what Xbox should do is just release their next console. And this thing would be dead in the water instantly. They say, hey, bro, we're putting a new CPU in there, cutting edge CPU. And then that'll be done. No one will be buying. And they can price that thing at $500 probably, or $600 now. Since Sony's setting the bar high on pricing, they can just come out and make their next Xbox $600. Boom, done. And it's going to beat this thing value-wise. They're done. They're dead in the water right there. And once again, if they do that, then no upgrades will be coming to this console. This is the issue. This is why it's better to own a PC and to have a graphics card. If you want upgrades and you want to be able to change your graphics cards and all that, like a PC, then go buy one, because this stuff is all about what Sony gives you.
PlayStation 5 sells gangbuster numbers. Now we're going to go down the list here. Where was I? So you see the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition Drive is at number 29. We have Game Pass at 30.
Yeah, the Digital Edition Drive, people. I spoke about that in my video yesterday. Guess what? That drive needs a check-in, an online check-in. It literally is DRM. It's basically DRM. That drive is just it's basically a piece of shit. It means nothing. You have to check that thing through the internet, and if you don't do it, the drive doesn't even work.
Have the Switch at 31. I still don't really see any Xbox console hardware. We see the controllers pop up at 35 and at 37. And at 39, we have another Xbox controller.
Devices,
and at 42
like
and at 41, we have a PlayStation controller. I'm still not seeing any Xbox consoles. We got the Elite Series 2 Core Wireless at 48. And we're seeing like Roblox card and a Nintendo game. We're going to go to the second page now, because this is the top 100. We got at 51, the DualSense Edge Wireless. We got a MetaQuest 3 at 53. Astrobot.
I don't really see much of the point of this video, but like I mean this guy's video, not my video. Like I said, I mean it's what I said. It's an apologist. Why do you care about how well this thing sells? This is not the right way to frame this. Who gives a shit about how it's selling? Again, it means nothing. Of course, off the bat, it's going to sell because there's a sucker born every day. And they've been lied to. They've been told the new pisser technology. It's extra pissy. You know? People, it was the same thing with the checkerboard rendering with the PS5 Pro, PS4 Pro. They just lied to people. They told them, oh, it's going to be 4K. The thing could barely even do 1440p. And I heard actually some games on this PS5 Pro are actually doing like 1200p. Like we're talking about not even 1440p on some of these titles. You're going to spend $700 on something that can't even do, it can't even do 1440p at times. And of course that's going to be the case, right? This is another reason why a PC is better, right? They're going to compare this to a 4070. No way, people. The graphics cards you're going to get on the PC for the price of this thing are going to be way better. Because look, you got to factor in that this thing has all kinds of other components in it outside of the graphics card. It has a CPU in there. It has the motherboard. It has that controller that comes with it. It has all kinds of stuff. And in the end, it's $700 for all of that. If you go and you buy a card on the PC for $500, $600, that's just a card, and that's going to blow this thing out the water, most likely, right? Also, you got to keep in mind that this thing is in a small case, so it's probably going to be overheating, or it's not going to be able to run at its full potential because of heat constraints.
YouTube experts from Digital Foundry talked about an upcoming mid-gen.
He brought this up. I saw this today. This video was upgrading from the base model to the PlayStation 5 Pro feels like upgrading from an RTX 3060 or 3060 Ti to an RTX 4070 GPU, allowing users to access visual features that were previously not available. And people, you want to know what? That's a complete lie. You know that? This is what I'm talking about. You got to keep in mind that Digital Foundry is paid to say stuff like this. They're literally being paid in many ways to like advertise this thing. Probably. That's what I think. And also, he forgot to mention the part from Digital Foundry where they kind of laid it out when they said that, this isn't really something you really need. This is not a system that you need to buy. It's not a huge upgrade. It's really not. And also this is bullshit here. A 3060 to a 4070. It ain't the same because of what I said earlier. This thing you have this thing when you buy this, you have to take what Sony gives you. When you upgrade on a PC, everything's getting upgraded. And not even the developers are doing it. The card is doing it. It's unlocked. You're going to get the higher frame rates and you're going to get the higher resolution. People are going to be putting out patches. You're going to get ray tracing support on games just because the users put it out there. Or there's certain softwares that allow you to upgrade the games yourself. So there's so many differences between upgrading a graphics card on a PC and getting a new piece of hardware, getting a new console, right? A supposed upgraded mid-cycle refresh console. I mean, and also you got to keep in mind, these guys are notorious for not actually upgrading shit. Sony. They're notorious for nickel and diming you for everything. For example, look, instead of putting out a remaster of Until Dawn, why didn't you just patch it and give us 4K support for the game we already purchased on the PlayStation 4? Just, right? Why not do that? Hey, bro, Sony, are you gonna put out a 120 frame version of Killzone Shadowfall, a patch where I can download it from my PS5 Pro so I can play it at 120 frames? Are you gonna do that? Nah, they never did that. They actually gave Killzone Shadowfall no upgrades. They gave this is not a reliable company when it comes to upgrading. So once again, if you love Sony games, just buy a PC and then you'll get your upgrades for your Sony games, whether Sony likes it or not.
Generation system from Sony after having a chance to go hands-on with it, saying that in games like F124, where the developer put plenty of effort into the PlayStation 5 Pro upgrade, upgrading from the base model feels indeed like
you're at their mercy. Once again, when you go, like, another example is Titanfall. Titanfall 2 on the PlayStation 4 Pro it didn't really get many upgrades at all. It ran at lower settings than the PC version, right? The textures were lower quality. The resolution was at max 1440p. It was 60 frames, right? That's what it was. No HDR support. On the Xbox Series console, Xbox Series X, they have the highest settings, texture settings and everything from the PC. They have all the high settings. They have it at over 6K. It can actually reach resolutions above 6K. And it got patched for 120 frames support. Okay? It got patched. Now they have certain technologies with that company, Xbox, that they can do that. They've done it with many games. We're going to be looking at a video that shows this. They have a technology that does this without the help of the developers. Sony doesn't have that. Sony needs the developers to come in and do this. They don't have any systems in place that can just take the caps off these games. So many of these PS4 games and even these PlayStation 5 games are going to receive no improvements from this at all. They're not going to have any improvements.
Upgrading the GPU in a gaming system. Even other scenarios where the visual improvements aren't massive, the PlayStation 5 Pro is definitely worth it for those players who play demanding console games in the performance mode and wish to experience much better visual quality.
They said, the guy, Cerny, he actually said fidelity like. This is the way they use the wordage. They use the wordage. And it's the fucking trick you, man. It's the trick you. He literally said fidelity like graphics.
And they basically go on to say that the ray tracing features are also an upgrade on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, the PlayStation 5 Pro, like I said, it's selling. It's number 2 on the best-selling list at Amazon. It's number 2 on the best-selling list at GameStop. It's selling more than the Xbox Series X.
This is such a dumb argument. Like I said, it's gonna sell because it's the new shit on the block, but it's gonna sell to a point. Sales will dry up. What Sony saw is Sony saw that the PS5 sales were drying up. It wasn't selling as well, so they're trying to put this out to revitalize the audience, to revitalize the system, to kind of make it relevant again, because people, it's winding down. This is just the natural progression of a console. People they stop buying it. Whoever wanted it already has it. So in order to kind of like, spruce up or, whet the audience's palate or get them excited for Sony some more, and outside of, releasing a whole new console, they just do what they call a refresh. And this is what they're doing. And some people are gravitating towards it,
Really see the visual difference that you will get with the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, when Wukong gets a PlayStation 5 Pro update, you can't tell me that gamers are not going to be excited to finally have really playable frame rates without using frame gen at like 30 FPS. I truly believe that they can get that game up to 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5 Pro.
He believes that, but that's not there. If that was true, they probably would already showed it. He believes that, but that doesn't mean it's true because we don't know the limitations of that. I'm going to make a wild guess and say that the reason why that game didn't run at 60 is because CPU limitations. So most likely it will not reach 60 frames.
I think it'll look better. I think it'll run better. It's not going to have FSR. It's going to have machine learning AI. It's just going to look
hyped up to no end. Machine learning AI. It's machine learning. It's AI. It's like, so what? That's just a souped up way of just hyping up fucking, fake resolutions. Oh, it's got machine learning AI. So what? All it's doing is it's using AI to upscale the game, to give you fake resolutions. It's still going to be basically like a checkerboard. When in motion, it's not going to look as good. That's it. Also, if you're using this, it's the same CPU. So what's doing the AI? Is it all on the GPU? Because for all we know, this thing might actually make the games run worse. Who knows? I wouldn't be shocked if some of the games ran worse. Because if you're going to be using the CPU to do this AI processing, guess what? That takes resources away from running your games. Okay? So maybe the game might look a little sharper with its fake resolution, but it might actually run worse.
A lot better on that model. And when we start to see more games utilizing the PlayStation 5 Pro, then I think you gamers are going to understand why I'm so hyped for the PlayStation 5 Pro. So I just want to
say, it makes no sense to me that this guy is literally playing God of War here, Ragnarok. I mean, I guess he's playing it on a PC. You see that? It's got a bunch of different numbers here telling you the performance. All right? So why would he be excited for a PS5 Pro when he already owns a PC? That doesn't make any sense. Like, this is weird. Why do you care so much about this thing? You're excited for a system that is inferior to the ones you already own?
To see what you guys think about all of this.
What
are your thoughts?
This guy's running Ragnarok at over 120 frames. The PS5 Pro, I don't think the PlayStation 5 can do that. And for sure, the PS5 Pro probably also won't be doing that because there are CPU limitations. Okay? And these games, many of these games that they already put on there are pushing the hardware pretty hard, right? This is why they had multiple modes. And it probably isn't because of GPU. Some of it is because of the CPU.
Thoughts on people mocking the PlayStation 5 Pro not being sold out when we're looking on Amazon's bestseller list and we see it sitting at number 2. We're seeing that it's sitting ahead of the regular PlayStation 5 console. We see that no Xbox console, not the Series S or the X, is in the top 100 list on Amazon. What are we doing here? When people
He's harping on this shit. Look, if they put out a new Xbox and they say the shit is 10 times more powerful than the PlayStation 5 Pro, people are going to buy that thing over a PS5 Pro most likely, right? They might do that. Or there's a new Xbox that comes out. It's going to start selling Xboxes again. The Xbox has been around, the series consoles, for like what, almost 5 years. So of course people aren't buying it like that. Again, this is the new system that's out. So this is a silly argument, and he keeps harping on it. He keeps repeating the same thing.
Are trying to make fun of the PlayStation 5 Pro not being sold out. It is selling a lot.
That's very worrying that it's not sold out. It just tells you that most people actually don't respect the pisser, right? They don't care about the pisser.
Of numbers, it's not being sold out is a good thing for Sony because they're able to move more units. It's a good thing for gamers because they're able to get more units. I don't think scalpers are going to go after the PlayStation 5 Pro because it's readily available. And the whole purpose of a scalper is to sell the product.
You imagine buying this freaking thing for like $5,000? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy if people actually do that.
it's in high demand and you can't get it. It looks like it's going to be available. So this is a win-win for.
Yeah, I saw online people. I saw it was available, and I won't be buying it because it makes no sense. I'm happy with my regular PS5. All right. Okay, so we're going to be watching another guy that's he's trying to defend the honor of the PlayStation 5 Pro. Let's see this.
What's up, everybody? Chris from Full Battle Jacket here, and once again talking about the PS5 Pro console. And man, there is a really loud contingent of video game fans really fired up about the PS5 Pro from all corners of the internet. I want to talk about it and see if we can address some of the common objections. But before I dive in, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel. I post new videos almost daily, so click that bell notification to stay updated. First, the price. $700 is a lot of money for the average household, but it's hardly outrageous given what you get inside the box. Now, I can already hear you guys clattering away at your keyboards as you're preparing to torch me in the comments, and that's fine. All I'm saying is keep an open mind and hear me out for a second. Consoles have gotten to the point where they have narrowed the divide.
This guy's video is really out of sync. It's weird. I think the audio just is really weird
Between them and PCs. These are no longer
he's like a mime or something, or like a Japanese kung fu film.
considered toys. The hobby has grown up. With the PS5 Pro, you're getting something somewhat comparable to a PC in terms of specs that push much better enhancements.
I said it earlier, people, it's not a PC. You should not ever compare these things to a PC. And the reason, once again, is that this is a closed system. And when you buy it, you get what the company gives you, what Sony gives you. When you get a PC, everything gets upgraded. All your software gets upgraded in many, many different ways. You will get 120 frame support. You will get 4K support. You do not have to go out and buy remasters and 4K patches from Sony. Also, like I said, all the games will be updated. You also get the ability to use different kind of controller types. For example, I like to use gyro aiming a lot of times. If I use a controller, it's great. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite ways to play shooters in any game where you're aiming. It's one of the best ways. Outside of a mouse, it's the best way to play a shooter. It's amazing. But guess what? And what's funny is I actually use a PS4 or PS5 controller to do this because they have gyros in those. So I go and I play this on my PC. I play like games like Call of Duty or whatever using gyro aiming. And then I go on my PS5 and I can't use this at all. Like, bro, what's going on with Sony? You guys got gyroscopes in your controllers. Why aren't you making this a standard feature? I don't get it. It's like ultra widescreen. I feel like all games on consoles, the standard this generation should have been ultra widescreen, not 4K, ultra widescreen. All the games should have been doing it.
To the visuals. Now, many have disagreed.
Also, just so you guys know, ultra widescreen, you could do that on any game on the PC. I remember they put out this Death Stranding re-release on the PS5. And they advertised ultra widescreen like it was a new feature. It's like, oh, look, guys, great ultra widescreen support. So I'm going to go out and spend, what, $50 so I can get something that I already got on the PC for free?
Saying it's only a slight bump to the visuals. But remember,
it is a slight bump, people. It's very, very hard to see. And again, unlike the PC has all of the textures and everything on the disc or in the file that you download. Unlike on these consoles, or the PS5's case, you got to wait for them to patch these things and you got to install patches, right? You got to install them. When you go and you buy a game on the PC, if your hardware doesn't support those higher textures and all that, they're still there. If you buy a new PC, now you unlock all of that. It's already there. If you open it up, it'll slow your performance down. But when it comes to the PS5, PS5 or PS5 Pro, you have all these games that don't have any of these files. So they have to go in and they have to patch every single one of the games you have. So if you PS4 games, a whole giant collection, 100, 200, 300 games, they all got the textures from the PS4 version. You can't just buy this PS5 Pro, and then go into those games and unlock and unlock all those textures. No, they don't exist. They're not there. So you cannot compare this thing to a PC graphics card.
YouTube compression is making it hard for some of you guys to see many of the differences in visuals. Until you see it in person, the way outlets such as Digital Foundry or CNET have seen, you're really not going to be able to appreciate the differences between the upgrade of the standard model to the Pro. The 45% increase to the GPU processing power is going to make it possible for those of us with big, beautiful OLED TVs to play games at peak fidelity modes, while also enjoying high frame rates with ray tracing enabled. All of this...
That's not true, right? That's not true. You're not going to get a bunch of people... I have some pretty high-end cards. Ray tracing is very difficult to do for these cards. Even the highest end has problems with it. You're not going to get ray tracing and 60 frames per second on all these games. If anything, that's going to be very rare. You might get 4K with the current ray tracing, or you might get more advanced ray tracing, but with the lower resolution, with the 1440p or 1080p. You might get more consistent performance with the current 30 frame modes. This idea, this whole dream of 60 frames with all the ray tracing bells and whistles on, that ain't happening. I don't think that's really going to happen, because again, you got the CPU on there. That's an old CPU. You have all kinds of different restraints on this thing. I don't think you're going to be getting... I mean, look, the Cerny guy came out. He said fidelity-like graphics. You don't... Like, you just got to listen to his wordage. These guys are... people are just building this up to be more than what it is. And Sony pretty much told you what it is, but they worded it in a certain kind of weird way where you believe that you're getting this huge upgrade. This is why this guy literally said fidelity-like. And then he said the upgrade would be about 45% better than the current system. That's, to me, that might be a minuscule difference. Like, I think the PS5 Pro was, or PS4 Pro was like twice the power of the PlayStation 4. I could be wrong. It might even have been 3 times. This thing is 45%. They're saying a 45% improvement. That's crazy, people. I think in reality, look, the next console is what they should do if they want to keep doing this upgrade thing, and it's only going to be the GPU, then do this. Allow us to get a GPU that is compatible with the system, put a slot in there, and when we want to upgrade our PS6, we'll just slide that GPU in there. Because like I said, a lot of the cost of this unit is all the other parts in it that you already own, like the CPU and all that other stuff. They put a new GPU in there, but you have to rebuy the CPU and all that other stuff. If you're going to upgrade your PC, you don't need to always upgrade your CPU, right? You don't. But in the case of this thing, you have to rebuy all the same parts in order to get the new GPU. That's one of the biggest problems. They're going to continue with this upgrading stuff, like the N64 back in the day. Allow us to, because they had a RAM cart you would put in your N64 to kind of like make the graphics a little bit better. What they should do, people, is they should just let you put a GPU into this thing. Just put it in there like a cartridge.
This is packed into the form factor of a console that can fit in your living room entertainment center, so you're not chained to a desk. Also, keep in mind,
people, you don't have to be chained to a desk to have a PC. I have a PC downstairs in my house. I got one in my office, and I got one downstairs in the living room. And you know what? I sit on my couch and play it with a PS5 controller, Xbox controller.
You're getting a high-quality 2 terabyte SSD, which packs a lot of storage. And this factor needs to be in the conversation when we're talking about the value proposition here. With game files getting...
There's not a lot of value here, people, if you already own a PS5.
Larger and taking up more system storage, a 2 terabyte drive is essential for any gaming enthusiast. Without adequate storage, you'll be forced to constantly clean out the fridge, deleting games and re-downloading them constantly. Who wants to do that?
People, the storage in the PS5 is fucking terrible. Like I get like 4 or 5 games in that thing, and the drive is finished. It's nuts.
A lot of you guys are also saying, for $700, just buy a PC. And hey, if that's what you want to do, more power to you.
That's what you should do. Look, if you went out and you bought a PS5 and then you're buying a PS5 Pro, you just wasted your money because you should just buy a PC. Because look, I showed it in my video yesterday. These guys are putting DRM on everything on these systems. You're going out there and you're spending $70 on games you don't even own. You don't even own them. The moment you don't have an internet, your internet, there's an outage or whatever, your games won't even work. So like, why are you giving these guys all this money? You got to be crazy, people, to go buy a supposed collector's edition or whatever. Oh, it's the ultimate edition. Shit is $100 or more, and you don't even own it. It's fake. It's all DRM shit. And this is what Sony's doing. They're doing it with the Drive, and they're doing it with like all their games. The other day, I tried to play. What was it? I said it on my other stream. I tried to play that game, Days Gone, and I didn't have my internet connected to the system, so it didn't work. The game wouldn't turn on. Isn't that amazing? I paid for a game that I don't even own. That's insane. I think it's really insane. And then I was bringing up the Xbox because everyone hated the Xbox. Oh, DRM. Everyone pretended because the media told them to hate the Xbox because of DRM, which they all accept and they all engage in it right now. They're obsessed with a company that's putting DRM in everything. So what's funny is that I played the Master Chief Collection, right? And I didn't have to go online. I didn't have to go and use any kind of DRM shit. I was connected to the internet and the game worked. Actually, on my Steam Deck, I turned the internet off. And guess what? That Halo Master Chief Collection still works. But you know what doesn't work? Horizon doesn't work. And Days Gone doesn't work. And I'm pretty sure if I tested out Uncharted, it probably also wouldn't work. Why? Because all the shit, the Sony shit is all DRM, people. This company, like, I'm really starting to dislike them more and more.
But if you're looking to buy a PC at a comparable spec to the PS5 Pro, you're going to make some compromises. It's unavoidable.
People, look, money-wise, you're going to save money if you get a PC. You're going to save it. Why? Because you don't have to pay for online. You don't have to pay for 4K upgrades or 120 frame upgrades. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. And if you use Steam, you don't own your shit. It's all just the same thing, DRM, just like Sony, except the sales are much better on Steam. They're way better. And you could also do certain things in order to remove that DRM on the PC. You can't do that on the PlayStation. You can't do that. There's no ways to remove that on the PlayStation. There's all kinds of benefits. And you're gonna save money. I've seen people say things like, oh, well, you're gonna have to spend $800 or whatever for a PC like that. Well, dude, I'd rather spend $1,000. I'll spend $1,000 and it's gonna blow away the PS5 Pro. That's better. And also, once again, the money you're saving on internet, or on a yearly subscription where you got to like pay for the internet, right? Or for a multiplayer or for 4K patches, you're going to save money. You're going to save more money. In the long run, you're going to have more money. You're going to save a lot more money than you're going to have on the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Avoidable. And you're also going to have to build it yourself. That means you're not buying...
No, you won't have to.
...a pre-built machine. And that PC that you're putting together probably won't use a disk drive either. Which brings me to objection number 2.
I have external drives, disk drives. You can buy them on the PC. I have them because I own physical PC games.
No disk drive included? I doubt many of you PC users are using a disk drive these days. I can understand if you have a big collection of console physical games laying around and are bemoaning the exclusion of a disk drive. But we're at a point now where 90% of game sales are digital. Also,
and that's a terrible thing, people. And once again, that's what's really disgusting about how everyone cried and pretended to hate the Xbox and DRM, but then they went out and they bought all their fucking games digital. Isn't that disgusting? Doesn't that show you how Matt Damon people are?
Most discs pressed these days don't have the entire game on them anymore. They merely serve as physical license keys, which prompt the console to download the same digital copy of the game that you can buy from the PlayStation Store.
Well, look at this, people. Look, I'm going to show you something funny. People are going to think this is funny, probably. All right, so look at this. I'm going to just throw this up on this screen right now. Okay, hopefully I can zoom in on this. One moment, please. You see this PC right here? costs $1,300, $1,400, right? You can get a payment plan. That thing has what does it have in it? It has a Ryzen 7 7000 series. I bet you that's more powerful than the one in the PlayStation 5 Pro. 16 gigabytes of RAM. And then it has a 4070 Super in it. Most likely superior to the PlayStation 5 Pro, right? 1 terabyte SSD, whatever. All that. Okay. Now you want to talk about the pricing, right? Look, a lot of these people that are buying this PlayStation 5 Pro, they already owned a PlayStation 5. So what's the price? 7 plus 5, right? What is that? That's $1,200. That's almost the same price as this thing, as this PC. So if you go and you buy yourself one of these things, these PS5 Pros, you would have spent enough money to buy this PC here. And keep in mind, this is a pre-built. So you spend more money for this. Again, if you go out, and it's not that hard to build a PC. It's really not. You get a motherboard, GPU, some RAM. It all plugs in. You basically just plug it in, you know? Maybe get a friend to help you out. If you go and you build it yourself, you're going to spend less than this, okay? But if you go and you factor in the price of those two things you purchased, the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, with tax and everything, you've basically spent this amount of money. Okay? All right, let's watch the rest of this video. I'm not going to watch the whole video, right? Just going over some of these points he's making. All right.
And we're already seeing examples of some physical Nintendo games shipping with a download code inside the box instead of a cartridge. The digital...
I don't see why just because a company is doing this that it makes it right. Just because it's happening doesn't mean we should accept it. You see, that's like saying, oh, well, there was slavery, so we should keep having slaves. These companies are trying to screw everybody over, and they're going to kill small business, and a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Thousands and many. Like, why do they have to do this? Like, for what? For greed. That's what it's for. To take away your ability to own what you purchase. People should put their foot down. If they're going to come over here and they're going to try to charge you $70, $80, $100 for a collector's edition of a game, and the fucking thing, you don't even own it. Like, you got to look at the fine print, people. You don't even own it. When you go out and you buy these box sets and all this shit, or you go on the internet and you buy a digital version of some, oh, this is a super ultra edition. You spend $100 and something bucks. You don't even own that game. You don't own it. The moment the internet goes out, it's gone. If this service goes out, it's gone. If you've done something wrong, maybe you cheated in a game or something, and Xbox or Sony or whatever, they deem you to be, oh, well, you shouldn't be on our service because you did stupid things. Boom. All that collection you bought is gone. And you can't do anything about it. You can't sue them or anything. You can literally spend thousands of dollars on software, and they can take it all from you in an instant.
Era is upon us, and publishers will drag us kicking and screaming into the future if necessary.
This is the future, people. Like, this is a crazy thing to say. So the future shit, and we're supposed to accept it. They're gonna kick you, so we should accept it because they're gonna pull you into a shit future of greed where you own nothing. Whether you like it or not, you're gonna have to accept shit. No, you're not. You don't have to accept it. Just go on the PC and start pirating shit.
I've been all digital since 2018.
Look. If I go, and this is what people, again, so I'm going to keep bringing up the PC. You go to the PC, and then you go and you start removing the DRM. If you purchase this shit for $70, you should go and try to remove that DRM. And also, this is weird. I've heard lots of people. I heard Dave Jaffe say the same stuff. I've been purchasing games digitally since whatever. Why would you do that?
And for my launch PS5, I opted for the slimmer, cheaper digital model. And if you really want a disk drive, you can still buy one separately.
Yeah, people, and it's all DRM. I showed it yesterday. It's DRM. The disk drive doesn't work without connecting to the internet. It's bullshit.
Objection number 3, the lack of a vertical stand. This I can somewhat agree with. a
All right. I can't watch this whole video, man. I can't. I mean, this is where you draw the line at a fucking piece of plastic, not on the fact that you own nothing. I own nothing. I've been owning nothing since, since I bought my PlayStation 5 years ago. And I'm proud that I own nothing. All right, so look, people, Sony has a track record of not upgrading jack squat. So why would you go and buy a system that depends on them upgrading everything? I mean, really, the reason I'm bringing up PC is because, I mean, we're at that point already. You guys want the upgrades, you want the higher fidelity graphics, but you're gonna get it from a company that's gonna fuck you over, that doesn't allow you to remove the DRM. You're gonna be under Sony's thumb, and they're gonna be pissing in the wind and telling you it's raining. They're gonna give you bullshit all day. They're gonna give you fake resolution. They're gonna give you basically no upgrades for your PS4 titles. They're gonna give you bullshit stuff all over the place, people. They're not gonna take games like Killzone and upgrade them. They're not gonna take Uncharted 4 possibly and upgrade it. They're not gonna give you 120 frame support on Uncharted 4 online with 4K. They're not gonna give you any of that. They're not gonna do. People, it's just fucking shit, man. You want to get an upgraded graphics and all that, and you want to keep bringing up the PC. Go do the real deal. Don't do this. All right, so we're gonna watch Sony's competition, right? We're gonna watch what they do with their upgraded hardware. All right, the shit company, the ones that the Sony fanboys hate.
The Logitech Lightspeed wireless range of. We've actually been able to.
So today then, we're taking a look at the first few games to support this to see how this technique fares when compared against the original games running on.
They updated loads of games to do all kinds of games, people. And again, the developer didn't have to come in and do this. So they upgraded shit tons of games, both on the new consoles and the old ones and all of it.
Original hardware. For this video then, I'm joined by Richard Ledbetter to discuss it.
Hey John, so this is really interesting stuff. Fascinating even, because...
I bring this up because this is what people should expect from Sony, to do stuff like this. Especially to the first party titles that people loved, right? People loved it, so they need to upgrade that. Where the fuck is God of War? The first God of War. Where the fuck is that? Have you guys seen the upgrade for that? The free upgrade? You want to know why you haven't seen it? Because they're probably going to put out a fucking remaster. Here, guys, give us another $60. Why don't you give me a 4K patch for God of War, the original one? Nah, we can't do that, bruh. But we got this new collection, or we got this new upgraded. It's God of War Kratos / Edition. Give us another $60. It got 4K. Fake 4K using pisser technology.
Microsoft has already announced that it's going to be doubling the frame rate on certain legacy games. We had a demo of Fallout 4, and we've actually been able to run...
Yeah, what's up, Never Sobers? Sorry, I just saw you're in there. Just looking in the comments, people. All right.
Fallout 4 with double the frame rate using mods, but this isn't the approach Microsoft is using, and curiously, Fallout 4 is not actually one of the first batch of games that supports it. Now, I didn't have the chance to talk to Microsoft about this, but you did. So why don't you clue us in a bit?
Yeah, that's right. So for this first wave of titles, we have some rather interesting choices, I guess you could say. Essentially, there's 5 games that support this feature. Far Cry 4, Watch Dogs 2, New Super Lucky's Tale, UFC 4, and Sniper Elite 4, with UFC 4 being kind of the newest title on the list, having just released kind of midway through 2020. Now, what's interesting here, though, is that...
Actually, I bought this I got this on sale when they did this for my Xbox. It looks great. It looks great. It doesn't have, it's not 1080p or anything. It's got that up checkered shit, I think, the checkerboard stuff. But it looks pretty good. But it runs at 60, where it only ran at 30 before. And it was free. Like, I got over 70 games in one day. They patched. So like 70 games using this technology.
Of these 5 titles, 3 of them lack support for the Xbox One X, which means that they were all running in the base Xbox One mode. But it's interesting because
they always got to find the negative in anything what these guys do. They can literally give you fucking 300 frames per second, and this guy's on Digital Foundry will find something bad with it. But if it's like PlayStation, They'll be like, oh my God, the soft picture, the fake 4K, it's immaculate. I love it so much. Fake 4K, I love it. Oh, and the game runs at 25 frames per second.
I did speak briefly with
It's
Jason
that nice cinematic experience.
over at Microsoft there, Jason Ronald. And essentially they're doing this sort of at the D3D level. There is no game code being modified here at all. There's no I adjustments, nothing like that. It's a technique where they're essentially sending data back from D3D back to the game faster than it originally did, in a way so that the game itself thinks it's still running at the original frame rate. So if a game was 30...
So you see these people, they put all this investment into R&D, right? And this is what you get when they actually care about what the fuck they deliver. This is the difference between the competition. This is what you should want from the companies that you support. Them actually giving you a reason to own a fucking piece of hardware. They're going in there and they're trying to open these games up so they have these high frame rates, and they didn't charge you for any of it, right? Because they follow the PC model. So if you don't get a PC, you might as well just buy this thing, right?
And now it runs at 60 when using FPS boost to the game. At least as far as it knows, it's still running at 30. It just looks like 60 frames per second now.
It doesn't look like 60. You see the silly things these guys say? It doesn't look like 60. It is 60. It doesn't look like it. This is not FSR3 where it inserts fake frames. No, this is running faster. It looks like 60. This is people. I like Digital Foundry, but I also think they're pieces of shit sometimes. It looks like 60. No, it is 60.
It's kind of a weird trick that they're doing. So I like the idea though, because it's very like, it's this high level adjustment that can be applied to a wide range of titles. And they even said that, you know, down the line we can see like original Xbox and Xbox 360 games perhaps.
It's fascinating. It kind of reminds me of the kind of direct 3D injectors that you see on the PC, only this is rolling out on the console side, and it's all fully validated, fully tested, that kind of thing. But yeah, curious that Fallout isn't in the initial batch of titles, and that if it was, it would be using an entirely different approach to the mod here. But yeah, some fascinating games in the lineup. So why don't we go through them in turn? I think we divided them up between us, and some really interesting results here.
That's right. So I guess the first big one that we looked at, and perhaps one of the more ambitious, I guess you could say, is Watch Dogs 2. And you wanted to check this one out.
I did.
But I guess it's worth noting that this one was actually released in 2016, so while it does support the PS4 Pro with a high-resolution mode, it never received support for Xbox One X, which means it's limited to 900p. But how does
you see, guys, like I said, this is my thing with Digital Foundry. They give you some shit for free, and all they can keep doing is harping on this negative shit. Oh man, it's the same settings from the Xbox One version. You want to know why? Because it is a fucking Xbox One version. That's why. Like, he's expecting it to be like fucking 4K or something. Bro, it's the same game. It's the same game. Why? This is the shit I hate about this site. And this is one of the biggest gaming, this is the biggest game analysis outlets on the entire internet. And they're constantly harping on hating this thing. These fucking people can give you all kinds of free shit. And these guys would just harp on, oh, wow, it's the same settings. He said it twice already. It's the same settings from the Xbox One. Yes, because it is the Xbox One game. It's the same game. It just runs better. Runs at a higher frame rate.
Rest of it play
Yeah,
out.
it's kind of curious. Two different approaches, really. The PS4 Pro, I think, from memory, it was using 1800p checkerboard, but it was still 30 frames per second. What you're seeing here is pretty impressive, actually. It is still 900p, but it is running at full 60 frames per second. And the reason I wanted to check this out, first of all, I've played it in the past and was kind of curious to revisit it. But more than that, it's actually quite a CPU-heavy game because it is an open-world title, and there's a lot going on in terms of simulation and background streaming and whatnot. So I was really curious to see how the series consoles would stack up. I played it on both the Series S and the X, and well, it's just a locked 60 frames per second start to finish. Doesn't matter if you're playing on Series S, doesn't matter if you're playing on Series X. They pretty much produce exactly the same results, which is to say, all of the issues that the Xbox One S version had, and there are many, all cleaned up here. And if we actually go back and look at the One S version, targets 30 frames per second. That's the maximum throughput you're going to be getting, but it does have a lot of performance issues, specifically in traversal. You can be just driving through the city, you'll get bouts of screen tearing and drops to frame rate. I've actually got a combat stress test scenario here, which you can see running on the One S and the Series S. Same scenario here where we're just trying to get away from some police, but rather than trying to
All right, we're going to skip to some other games they have on here. We'll skip to some of the games that actually run now at 120. They did this with loads and loads of titles, people. Tons and tons of games. This is free upgrades. Like I'm showing you this because I'm showing you the competition, because these guys, they've done tons of free upgrades. They do it at random. They don't build it up and have all these big trailers and all this telling you, oh man, look, it's Horizon. Now it's 60 frames. No, they just put it out. This was in a big bundle. They put out 76 games in one day. And this isn't all of them. They got loads more. This is talking about when they just threw them out all in one day, this big. They also added games to the list. They got Fear 1, 2, and 3 was added to the backwards compatibility list. So I mean, this was a real thing. If people love games, if you love games and if you don't own a PC, this really is a console to get, not a PlayStation.
It's 100% locked, very, very stable, 60 frames per second, and even traversing the open world, there weren't any like noticeable stutters, hitches, or anything that sort of got in the way of the experience. And this is exactly the same on both Series X and Series S. In comparison to the original Xbox One S, though, it actually kind of highlighted this. This was an example of a game that ran really well on both of the consoles at launch, and I think we kind of lauded it back in the day for this as well, because it delivers a pretty smooth 30 frames per second experience, actually.
Yes, it's really not very good. Looking back at Tom's coverage back in the day, this game runs at 1080p on PS4, Xbox One, and indeed PS4 Pro. Frame rate is unlocked, or at least it was back in the day on the PS4 and the Pro. And, well, it never quite hit 1080p 60 on either of the PlayStation platforms. So, Xbox One S here, it really is struggling. I mean, it's capped at 30 frames per second. The tearing is just so obvious whenever it encounters any kind of issue. Challenging parts of the scenery.
Just so you guys know, that 30 frame cap is what you're getting for this title on the PS5 Pro. Unless they go and Sony patches it and does all this shit. This game is going to be 30 frames on your PS5 Pro. $700 difference, huh, guys?
Cause significant drops to frame rate. Even if there's a slight drop to performance, you get full screen tearing, which really detracts from the quality of the experience. The game's kind of standout X-ray kills. All of those see performance drop significantly down to the low 20s in the worst case, complete with that eye-rending screen tear. It's really not pleasant at all. But I actually kind of really like the game, and that's where the Series S comes
in. This is how it runs.
In to begin with, because, most of the...
Just like a PC. Just like that. This is actually like a PC. You're getting upgrades without even having to pay for it. You just got a new piece of hardware that's more powerful, and they're unlocking it.
Those performance drops are completely resolved. It is, for the most part, 1080p, 60 frames per second. I think based on the outlook here, you are getting a better experience than PS4 Pro. Game is really, really impressive. However, there are still scenarios.
However, let's talk about the negative now. Free upgrades. Oh, let's shit on it.
Some X-ray kills, some transparency issues that do cause performance to drop from 60 frames per second. And that's kind of fascinating, but I also played the same levels through on Xbox Series X. Again, it's 1080p. You're not getting any boost to resolution there. But the vast amount of extra horsepower the Series X has does solve the issues. I don't think it's a big deal. I still think it's pretty tremendous on Series S. So yeah, this is definitely one to check out, especially as it's on Game Pass at the moment. So if you've got a Series console, I highly recommend checking it out. I had never played Sniper Elite 4, seen some footage here and there, looked quite amusing, but I actually think there's a really good tactical shooter in here, and it's well worth checking.
All right, we're going to go forward a little bit more. You know, GTA 4 is actually 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series consoles. It doesn't even exist on the PlayStation consoles, and that will not change when they put out the PlayStation 5 Pro. You still will not have GTA 4 on your PlayStation 5 Pro, but it is on the Xbox, and it's 60 frames, which it never was 60 frames ever on any console. All right? Only on the Xbox and PC.
Let me lay these out first. So, if you play on an Xbox One or One S, the game is 900p at 30 frames per second. Now, if you play on the Xbox One X, you have two modes, performance and quality. In performance mode, the game is 1080p at 60 frames per second, and in quality mode, it is 1800p at 30 frames per second. But in all versions, or I guess on both versions, in all three modes, all of the interstitial scenes, the introduction sequences, everything like that are all rendered at 30 frames per second, no matter which mode you choose.
Okay.
So when you come over to the Series consoles, then that means Series S, while it's still 900p, everything now runs at 60 frames per second. Then on Series X, whether you choose quality or performance mode, it doesn't really matter. You can still choose both. The game is also 60 frames per second across the board. And I say that because that means all of the scenes, the interstitial scenes, the cutscenes, the in-game stuff. The only thing that's still 30 is the menu itself and the pre-rendered FMVs, which, you can't really change that. But everything that's rendered in real time is bumped up to 60 FPS. And it sort of smooths out many of the hitches that you would get, especially with the sort of crossfades where they kind of have to render.
We get it. Their rival competition, the competition is doing a much better job than Sony is doing. So I'm just saying that if you're going to buy an upgraded system, the Xbox is the way to go. They actually do, and they do care about what their consumer gets. They care about the value of what they're purchasing. Because it's a great way to bring your consumer back. You got to respect them. You don't do what Sony does, where they remove all the fucking online from all the games. They have you go out and buy two different versions of Uncharted in order to get to the higher frame rates and the higher resolutions. You got to have the two different versions. It's ridiculous. All right. So we're going to look at some other some things that you can do with a PC that you can't do with the console. And the reason why, except for if you have the Xbox, because the Xbox, people, if you don't know, you can actually run emulators on it. I actually play I got on my Xbox Series X, I play the Wii, I play the PS2, I play the GameCube, all kinds of stuff, people. It plays all kinds of shit. You can play, like, if you're into like Nintendo games, you can play Mario Galaxy on the Xbox Series X at 4K. The thing looks amazing. You can even download patches for it and run all the high-res HD textures. Like, the thing's like a little PC. It's crazy. It runs so much. It's the same with the S. The Xbox Series S also does it. It does an amazing job at emulating software. There's something called dev mode, and you could basically load loads of emulators into your Xbox. There's another thing you can't do on the Sony side, but this is what brings the Xbox closer to a PC. But if you want the flexibility and you're all into the graphics and all this, then you really should be building a PC. And this is, all right, so the next thing we're going to look at is PS5 Pro performance. Okay, we're going to look at some information about the PS5 Pro. I'm going to be getting out of here soon to people. It's extremely late. All right, so we're going to be looking at a little info about what the PS5 Pro brings you. We've looked at it multiple times on this channel, but we're going to look at it a little bit more since, we're hearing all these apologists who are praising this thing and comparing it to a PC. That's ridiculous to make that comparison. And again, if you're going to compare any console to a PC, it would be the Xbox, not the PlayStation.
It does ignore a little bit the I'd say the transformative aspect.
All right, Never Sobers in the comments is asking a question. I'm going to put the comments on the screen, see if I can get this to work. Give me 1 second, just so people can see it. People will come in later, hopefully, and watch this. One moment, please. Hopefully this pops up. I hate how this. I really got to fix my chat system on here, people. Give me one moment, please. All right. Okay. All right. Where the heck is my chat? Okay. I think I found it. I think this is it. All right. One moment, please. Scroll through this shit. Oh, wait. I didn't even highlight the comment. That's the problem. All right. So Never Sober asks, how do you run emulators on your Xbox WTF? I'll show you a video. I'm going to put a video in the comment section. There's all kinds of videos on it online. You have to download something called developer mode. When you do that, you can just run anything. You can run all kinds of different systems. And there's a guy named Modern Vintage Gamer, I think that is the name of his YouTube channel. He's got some really great videos on there, and he tells you exactly how to do it. He praises that Series S. He says it's one of the greatest emulation systems you can purchase. And from what I've seen, it kind of is. It runs games at 4K and everything. It runs basically every single PS2 game in existence, and it runs them very, very well. I've ran a lot of software on my my Series X. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm playing God of War 2 on it right now. It's like locked 4K, 60 frames. It just looks, the stuff all looks great. I played Burnout 3, which had a bunch of glitches on the original console. On the Xbox, it actually fixed all the glitches. And it's like razor sharp 4K, 60 frames. I mean, the stuff looks great on there. I play Fight Night, all kinds of different classic games. A lot of different older games that I never completed. I played them on there. It's an amazing system. And if they bring in all this DRM shit, if they keep pushing the envelope on this crap, I'm probably just going to be playing a lot of older stuff. And then, doing some pirating stuff. Just kidding. I would never do that.
Of things like PSSR. And I think it ignores a little bit the transformative aspect. It does ignore a little bit the
All right, I want to get to the question that he asks.
I'd have telemetry of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's awesome. But I think
But to answer your question, I think I already answered it, Sobers. You just need to get something called dev mode. It's like $20. You have to pay for it. It's called dev mode. I would just pay for it. There's some people that do some weird workarounds. And they don't do the workarounds. Just spend the $20. Type into the Xbox dev mode. Download that, and then look up emulation on the Xbox, and you're gonna find all the information. It's not the hardest thing to do. You can actually plug a hard drive into it. That's what I did, and I got it filled with NES games and all kinds of different games. I play most of my emulated games through my Xbox. I don't do it through the PC.
like halfway there as the way to advertise it towards people, for a variety of reasons, mainly because it does ignore a little bit the I'd say the transformative aspect of things like PSSR. And I think it ignores a little bit the transformative aspects of ray tracing.
Right.
Because the PS5 would not necessarily have been utilizing really great ray tracing, for example, even in its quality modes in every game, while maybe the PS5.
Yeah, Sobers, I'm going to be showing it soon. I'm going to be playing some games using the emulation in the Xbox. I've done some. I did a video a few months ago. If you remember, I played Dead or Alive, some Dreamcast games, NES stuff. But I never really played much PS2 stuff on here. I'm going to play a bunch of stuff. I'm going to show it off on the channel. For the gaming aspect of this channel, I'm going to show off the dev mode.
If Pro does allow a game to run with more transformative ray tracing to a certain degree. So I think it's like halfway there. I also think it's only halfway there because it's not necessarily going to be true of all situations, which is something that Mark Cerny talked about at the end of the videos. Like, he said the way this could be used is going to be as varied as all the different engines out there, almost. And I think that will bear out when we look at the games. We're going to see probably, much like we saw with Xbox One X, for example, or PS4 Pro, a variety of different ways that people will leverage that extra GPU power. And some games won't be able to do we take your fidelity mode and turn it into a performance mode, but they'll maybe do something else, which has other benefits. So I think it's only like halfway there. I would have maybe chosen different examples than were chosen for the video, which we can all talk about. But I think there's the 7 minutes that he had, because there was first setting up that PS5 is great thing. The 7 minutes that he had was so rushed and so like I wanted to know a lot more than what was said actually.
Okay, John, what have you got to add to that?
I mean, I'm continuing right there. I was also left wanting. It did not feel like the traditional Cerny presentation we get.
No, it was very high level. You're right.
And that's a little bit surprising to me, because I feel like the people that are going to be spending this amount of money, which we'll get to, are probably very interested in those details, right? This isn't necessarily a mass market product in the same way No, so I'm a little surprised they went this format. But one of the things that stuck out from the initial part of the video, though, when talking about quality and performance modes, is how he very specifically called 30 FPS choppy or not smooth. And I thought that was interesting, because that's
All right, we get it. It's 60 frames. Last of Us is not 4K. In the 60 frame mode, it's using Pisser technology. It's taking 1440p, the current game, from 1440p up to fake 4K using AI upscaling. It's upscaling, people. That's what it is. It's not native resolution. And hopefully these guys are honest when this comes out and really point this out. We're gonna watch a video just showing off what the PC can do. That's your PlayStation 5 Pro. Well, doesn't do and never will do, most likely, and that is attempt to play PS3 games locally, natively, okay? Through emulation, obviously. Okay, we're gonna watch some of this. All right? Which is, people, it's disgusting. The reason why you most likely will never see a Sony system natively outside of the PS3, obviously. The reason you will never see them play these PS3 games natively is because they want you to keep buying their streaming service. PlayStation Now, I think it's called. I'm taking cover! This right here is running on a 3070, right? 3070 is what they're comparing the PS5 Pro to. They're also comparing it to a 4070. 4070 can definitely do this. It can do this. And people may say, oh, well, those frame rates aren't too great, but you got to keep in mind, this is running at 4K. People, 4K. You never saw Killzone Part 2 running at 4K on a PS3, okay? This is running at 4K at frame rates that are above the original release. And you can also take these and cap them, right? Cap these frame rates. This is Killzone. This is a whole collection of PS3 games running on the PC, on a card that is supposedly equivalent to a PlayStation 5 Pro. I would have loved if they would have put this out, people, but I guess Sony has an agenda. They got to make everything. They took this team Guerrilla, and all they make now is like this Horizon games. Horizon's okay, people. It's okay. But what the hell happened to Killzone, bro? What the hell happened? I think they just got a damn agenda or something, Sony. You know, they can't have, I guess this game is too manly, maybe, right?
Sound. Try whacking this dummy for me. Well, that worked, I guess. Okay, let's see the Magnum. Yeah, okay. Let me see that bullseye one more time. And make... Hey, Joe.
Mind showing my mom how you fire a Magnum? Now watch close. Joe, show her how to detonate the rounds.
All right, so this is Resistance. I think this is Resistance 3 running at 60 frames per second at 4K.
Dangerous.
That's kind of the point, Ma.
If Sony was able to put this game out again, and I'm pretty sure they could, they would charge you for this upgrade, people. They would charge you for this. They would probably call this, Killzone. Well, not Killzone, Resistance 3 4K edition. And they charge you 50, 40, 50, 60 bucks for this.
Just got some EMP grenades from a group in Fort Gibson.
On the PC, it's free. Or if you already own it, you could strip it off the disc, put it on your system, run it through an emulator. And this is on hardware that is supposedly equivalent to a PS5 Pro.
Why don't you give them a try?
I'm going to be playing this emulator on this show. I'm going to be doing I want to start streaming more gaming content to this channel. I'm going to be playing games I've never completed. There's so many games I've never completed. Kind of fell off when it came to gaming for a long while. Getting back into it. So I'm probably getting one of the first PS3 games I'm going to be playing on here, maybe Killzone 2 or this game called Heavenly Sword, which actually runs very, very well using this emulator here. It runs at 60 frames locked in. I think it's 4K. It's very sharp. Looks very good. Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. I don't know what this is doing right now. I don't know. All right, so this is more Resistance 3. He's showing Resistance 1.
His air support, goodbye! Man down!
I mean, Resistance 1 looked like a sophisticated PS2 game, but it was a fun game. It really was a lot of fun. But the glass, for some weird reason, was amazing. It had some of the best looking glass in gaming. Like, it looked like super. I mean, even by today's standards, that glass in Killzone looked and Resistance 1 looks better than basically any glass in any video game ever. It's amazing. I don't know. They really focused on that glass, man. They put all the next gen tech into that glass. Here's Killzone from the PS2 being played on this hardware as well. I got to look up when this video was made because I play Killzone 2 on my Xbox and it runs at 60. So I don't know what's up with the emulator here. I think it's because they're running it at 4K. Another thing is, this might be the PS3 version running through this emulator. I think that's what's happening because Killzone was re-released. The first game was re-released on a collection on the PS3. I think it was the PS3 hardware. Yes, it was re-released. If you really want to have a solid performance for this title, you play the emulated PS2 version. That's really what you should do. Don't play it emulated through some PS3 shit because PS3 was just weird hardware. It's hard to emulate. I have this. I play Killzone, this version of Killzone 1 through my Xbox through emulation, and it runs solid. It's like locked 60 frames, and it's 4K. All right, here we got some other game. I don't know what this is. All right, we're going to go ahead a little bit and see what else they got running here. These are all PS3 games running on a PC. And I'm showing this because people were comparing this PS5 Pro to a PC, to upgrading a PC card, and it couldn't be further from the truth. You're not going to do any of this through your PS5 Pro. None of it. This is Last of Us running through. Again, this emulation is hard to do, so obviously this game most likely will run better through your PS5 Pro. This is just, this is an off case. This is
Distance pharmacy.
But in the future, they might actually upgrade this and get this running better than the PS5 Pro on PC.
Oh, that sounds promising.
But again, you also got to keep in mind, this is the PS3 version. This game was intended to run at 30 frames. So you can see it's now running at 4K. If they would have lowered this resolution, it might actually hit 60 frames. Which, you know, the PS3 version was 30 frames. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit. See what else they have. I want to actually try out Metal Gear Solid 4. That's one of the things I want to play through emulation and see how that works out. Okay, we got Tekken. We got a billion. They have 70 games on here. And they're all local. They're running right through the hardware of the PC. 0 of these games run on your PlayStation 5 or PS5 Pro locally.
You win. Round 1. Fight.
This is a PS3 game. I think this is I think Tekken 6 possibly. Running at lock 60 at 4K. All right, so this is Metal Gear Solid 2. This is the PS2 original Metal Gear. Well, actually, this is a PS3 version. This is the re-release of Metal Gear Solid. I think this is 2 and 3 together, running on the. This is the PlayStation 3 version running through an emulator on the PC. Once again, anybody that's just getting in here, what I'm showing is PS3 games running locally through a graphics card that is supposedly equivalent to a PS5 Pro. And the reason I'm showing this is because a lot of people out there, I've seen many people say this. Digital Foundry said it, and a couple other people on YouTube, channels that are bigger than mine, which they shouldn't be, obviously. Well, one of them isn't. They're saying, a lot of people are saying this. They're saying that this PlayStation 5 Pro is equivalent to a PC. That it's the same thing as upgrading your card. And they're comparing this to a 4070 and a 3070. Like, you cannot do it, people. Once again, you cannot play a single one of these on your PlayStation 5 Pro or PS5. None of them. You can't do any of this. The PC, there's so much more flexibility and freedom on a PC. You cannot compare them. When you buy this PS5 Pro, you're going to get what Sony gives you. And that's it. That's all you're getting. Wish this guy would have put this video at a higher resolution. What is this shit? 720? He says 4K, games in 4K. He plays the fucking video 720p. One of the reasons I love to play this on PC is not only the fact that you can get it to run at 4K, but you can make the load times fast, right? Because on the thing, I would love to play this again without those crazy load times. This game had 30-minute load times. That was insane, and they gave this thing 10s on these websites. You fucking kidding? I mean, it was good. It's a good game. Cutscenes are very long, maybe way too long. But the game, I remember it being cool. I love Metal Gear. That's the issue, I guess.
Behind D.
HQ, come in! Rebel HQ. Enemy sighted.
Snake, press the crawl button while running to execute a roll. Rolling can help you dodge enemy attacks and get past...
Behind B. Colonel, what's a Russian gunship doing here?
small gaps and obstacles.
All right, so I'm just gonna watch maybe one more game and get the F. You know, I'm gonna watch.
I figured that it would come in handy.
I'm gonna switch over to something else. Kind of made my point.
ps5.
All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna look at the future of console gaming. Supposedly, according to Michael Pachter. He basically says what I've been saying for a long time. I've been warning people about DRM. A lot of these people, they were pretending that they hated it, and then they were okay with it. It's infuriating because they hated the competition for so long because of DRM, and that's cool. But then don't come out and then accept DRM. That's insane. All right, we're gonna watch this video from Michael Pachter right now. Then I'm gonna get out of here. It's almost 5 in the morning, people. Thanks for joining me.
The topic of the week is we actually have a couple of topics this week, so I'm going to take one right now. It's the PS5 Pro launch, and I think that the undercurrent is, what is Sony trying to accomplish with this? We all know that they had a PS4 Pro, and that was a pretty big upgrade to the PS4. We had a lot of people buy one, and it was so good that it appears that a lot fewer people are interested in upgrading to a PS5 because the PS4. Please try to remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, and that'll help us get paid. We had cooperation from the publishers.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I'm gonna go back.
First anniversary of the console launch, and you'll start to see 1 or 2 games from third-party publishers that are exclusive to the next gen, to the newest gen console. And almost always by the second anniversary, games that are kind of every year games, like a Call of Duty, like a Madden Football, will be exclusive on next gen, and they'll kind of phase out the old gen. That didn't happen this year. So this cycle. So back in 2020, we had the PS5 and the Xbox Series launch, and you would have normally expected games to trickle in the fall of 21, and kind of half of them in fall of 22 would be exclusive on PS5 and Xbox Series, and by 2023 they'd all be exclusive. That still hasn't happened. I mean, there's been 1 or 2 third-party games that I can think of that have been exclusive. So the point is that it's happening, and it's happening slowly. And I think Sony's goal here, to be honest, is to raise price. I recognize that Sony is telling you they're giving you something better with this PS5 Pro, and in fact, it is. It's a nicer, faster console. The graphics card is better. The frame rate is better. The question
that's to be determined, people. We don't know if the frame rates are better. At times, you might have worse frame rates. Again, the CPU is the same. Also, one of the reasons they're getting this supposed 4K 60 is because the 4K isn't real. They're literally taking the versions of games they already have that are doing 1440p and their supposed performance modes, and they're just using AI upscaling. That's what they're doing. They're taking pre-existing. So, for example, you look at Dark Souls, I think it's called, or Demon Souls. I think it's Demon Souls. They have a 1440p performance mode. And so what they've done is they've taken that mode and they've applied their pisser technology to it to give you a nice razor sharp fake 4K. And I'm pretty sure in movement don't look too good, right? This is why we have native resolution. These upscalers are just going to give you this artificial 4K. It may look a little sharper, but it's also not going to look like 4K. It's going to look blurry. And sometimes these fake 4K solutions look worse than the native, look way worse than native resolution. We saw this with Red Dead Redemption when it came to the PlayStation 5 Pro. And Digital Foundry was actually saying that it looked worse than 1080p. It looked worse than native 1080p. So I think they actually took 1080p and upscaled it to fake 1440p, and they said it looked worse than a 1080p image. The Xbox was doing native 4K, and it was night and day. I own both of them. I own it on both systems, people. I can actually try it on the channel. I'll show you.
It is, will any games made for PS5 only take advantage of that? So, one of the launch titles was Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that was going to be not PS5 exclusive, but would be on PS5 and would be upscaled to work on PS5 Pro. That game got delayed. I'll talk about that in the next episode. But most of the games you're seeing are older remastered games. So you're not seeing a lot of content yet developed for it. So I'd say there's no real reason to buy a PS5 Pro. I get people saying, I'm going to buy one to future-proof, which is what happened with PS4 Pro.
What, you're future-proofing with what? With getting fake, what? You're future-proofing by what? Getting fake 4K? That's how you're future-proofing? You're future-proofing by not getting 60 frames on many titles? Right? Sub 60 frames. This has been shown by Digital Foundry already. They've shown it.
People said, I want to make sure that I'm ready for all this upscaled great stuff, which really never came.
Upscaled great stuff. Upscaled, meaning fake resolution.
The PS4 cycle either. And that's why the PS4 Pro was a good substitute for the PS5. As we're getting a higher percentage of games, so it was like 0% in 2021, maybe 30% in 2022. Now we're up to like 50, 60, 70% that are PS5 exclusive. By 24, it's 80% this year. It'll be 100% a year from now. So interesting question will be Grand Theft Auto, which hasn't really been announced. I mean, they just said it's coming in 2025. Will those guys make it PS5 exclusive? I kind of suspect they might not. It'd be interesting because
why would they make it PS5 exclusive? That doesn't make sense. Grand Theft Auto's never been exclusive to any console ever. Not as far as I know. I don't think they would ever do that. And I think that'd be burning some bridges. That would be really bad for them, I think.
They'll be leaving 40, 50 million units on the table. Now, I did just meet with Take-Two. One of the questions that an investor that I was with asked was, what's the addressable market for GTA 6? And the CEO said, well, we expect the next gen console installed base to be 130 million by the end of 2025, early 26, which sounds right. I mean, that's roughly 90 million. 100.
All right, I want to see what he says about this, some more stuff about the PS5 Pro. He says some worrying things that I've said on this channel in the past about digital ownership, DRM, all that stuff.
That consoles were always $300, from the 90s through the mid 2000s, and then they went up to $400, and Sony tried to charge whatever $600 for the PS.
For anyone who doesn't know, Michael Pachter is a very well respected analyst. He's an analyst, people. He's a very wealthy guy. He's made his living on just studying the market and telling you what's coming down the line. All right, he's done this for a long time. He used to be on a site called IGN. Not IGN. It was Game Trailers. He had a show called Pack Attack. I remember it was a pretty cool show. He's an analyst who analyzes all kinds of different stuff. One of the things he analyzes is the gaming industry, right?
3, something like that. Then they went to 400 pretty consistently, and everybody was worried back in 2013 if the PS4 would be. The PS4 was worried if the Xbox would be, priced cheaper, and it wasn't. It came in at, I think, $499. So Sony was able to price it $399. Now they're $500, and Sony just raised the price on the core PS5. So the PS5 Pro is $700 without a hard drive. That's not hard drive, without disk drive. Excuse me. That's a lot. And I think that the point here is that the console manufacturers used to.
That's just a sign of the future. I've talked about it before. The point is to phase out physical ownership. They want to get you used to the idea of not owning anything. But people, when you go out and you spend $70, $80, $90, $100 on something and they tell you don't own it, you got to be pissed, people. You got to start bloating with your fucking wallet. $100 for something you don't own. You know how insane that is? You know how fucking greedy that is? These movies over here cost way more than these games to create. And you go to a Walmart, you can spend $10, $5, $20 at the most, maybe for a collection, $100. And guess what? When you buy that UHD, DVD, whatever, Blu-ray, you own it. You own it. You don't need the internet to access that material. It's on the disc. So for people to accept this, these games that come out and they have a budget of that's way below these movies, and the game's $70 and you don't fucking own it. Many times it's not even on the disc. Like, what is this? How do people accept this? This is fucking insane. This is why people, if they take the disc drives off of these consoles, the point is to get people used to the idea of not owning anything. So once they take those disc drives off these consoles, I'm done with these consoles, and everyone else should do the same. Do not buy these consoles anymore when they take the drives off of them.
Subsidize the purchase of the console because they want to make money selling you software. They've now kind of evolved where we're all buying fewer games, but we're playing them longer, and we're playing things like Ultimate Team, like GT Online, that drive a lot of in-app purchases.
Pisser technology, fake resolution. It's the power of AI.
We're playing Fortnite, we're playing Apex Legends, that drive a lot of in-app
people. Sony are like the masters of bullshit.
Purchases, and the console manufacturers know that they're going to make money anyway, so they seem less.
I like how Digital Foundry calls it 4K like. 4K like.
Incentivized to subsidize the purchase by offering you something at $100 below cost. Nintendo's never done that. They've always made a profit. Sony looks like they finally figured that out, and they're going to make a profit.
Bro, that shit look way different. Not. Right?
It's a profit deal. We shouldn't criticize them. Obviously, they're in a business to make money, so there's nothing wrong with that. But you're seeing slowing console sales. And I tweeted about this. I said Sony is seeing, declining PS5 sales, and so they decided to raise the price. Brilliant. And I had all these people like going, "No, PS5 sales are great," and they're posting all these, charts, and the charts show PS5 sales flatlining and declining. It's crazy. The fact is that Sony was guiding to over 20 million units. Now they're talking about 15. So the number of units they're selling at these higher prices is declining, period. And I think Sony's probably in this for a 10-year cycle. I think that
I put this on people because he's going to talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro. Sorry, I didn't edit this. This stream was kind of a last minute thing. I just saw a lot of different people talking about trying to defend this thing. A bunch of apologists for this shit upgrade. This upgrade's not worth purchasing. Look, when they start talking about pisser technology and they keep hyping it up, that's fake. That's fake resolution. And the fact they're using the fake resolution just shows you that the piece of hardware you're purchasing isn't up to snuff. It can't give you a native resolution, so they give you a fake resolution with this AI shit. I mean, come on. If it can't do 4K, then it's not even worth buying. Just stick with your freaking PlayStation 5, your basic PlayStation 5. Play it at 1440p. When you're sitting on the couch, like freaking 10 feet away from this thing or more or less, whatever, around there, few feet away, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet, you're not going to give a shit about 4K. All right? 4K is for people like me that's sitting right next to a computer monitor. Like I literally have a 48-inch monitor in front of me. It's an OLED. If I don't have 4K on this, it looks like garbage. All right? But if I was on my couch and I'm sitting away from the screen, it could be 1440p. I don't care. It's going to look just fine. It's going to look like it's probably going to look like 4K sitting like 10 feet away from it. Also, people, if you're playing on a small monitor, like a 20, 25, 30-inch monitor, you could be sitting right in front of the thing. It could be 1080p, and it looks razor sharp. And I know this for a fact. It's called pixel density. If you sit in front of a monitor and it's 25 to 30 inches and it's 1080p, people, sometimes the shit looks more sharper than 4K. It looks even better than 4K, and it's amazing. If you want to save money on performance, if you want to have a better, like, save performance on your PC, if you're a big PC gamer, play on a small monitor. That's the easiest way to save money, because now you're looking at that small screen and the thing looks freaking amazing. And when you play it, if that monitor supports 100 frames, 120, 200 frames or more or whatever, when you look at that at 1080p on that small screen, and it's moving at those high frame rates, the thing looks ridiculously good. I mean, you don't even need 4K. You definitely don't need 4K at that point. So look, if you love resolution and you don't mind playing on a smaller monitor, I mean, it's cool playing on a small monitor. It's cool. You can get closer to it. Actually, sometimes it's more like, it feels like you're more like, it's more in, what do you call it? It's more immersive sometimes when you get closer to that smaller monitor. So what you do is you have your PS5 and you get a small monitor and you sit right next to it. The shit's going to look amazing. Even at 1440p, even at 1080p, it's going to look amazing. It's going to save you $700, people.
You're not going to see a PS6 until 2030. And I think that's the plan. I'm not sure that we're going to need a PS6 because, again, your eye is going to have trouble discerning a 240 frame rate. You know, it's running at 8K or whatever the next gen is going to do.
People, sorry. On a side note, people, I heard him say this early. He's saying a very old argument. You know how everyone would say, oh, it can't get better looking than this. Well, it can. The dream of these developers is to do basically what you see in movies today, CGI films. The dream is to make that stuff in real time. They haven't got there yet. So these games are not, the gaming industry is not where at their full potential. They're going to keep going till we have 100% photorealism. They're gonna keep going till we have games that look like the movies, like the computer effects you find in movies. The dream is to do CGI level graphics in real time. This is what they keep pushing for. This is why we have things like what they call ray tracing. This is what they use in the films. But we're kind of in the first stages of ray tracing. This is kind of the first generation right now that is really kind of like, getting their feet wet when it comes to ray tracing. The next systems are the ones where it's really going to probably really be getting crazy. This is the first generation of ray tracing. The second's probably going to be, I have a feeling that the next gen, if anything, what they really should do is they should really, really, really push for ray tracing, not polygons or, geometry. Just push, try to get the most sophisticated, what they should push for, really, really sophisticated, extremely sophisticated physics and ray tracing. This is what the next console should really be focusing on, because really nowadays we can already create a very realistic version of a human being when it comes to the shapes of them. In 3D space, we can create humans that are basically identical to a human in their anatomy and the shapes. It ain't like it was back on the PS2 or PS3 where you didn't get like the perfect bone structure, all the different, millions and millions of polygons they put into these models now. Probably we can now model people pretty well, but what we can't do is get their skin to where it looks like it looks completely real. Also hair, like hair or cloth, things like cloth. This is why I say physics. So you can get the cloth where it looks like real cloth. It moves like real clothing. You get like the hair where it moves like real hair. You get the skin where it looks like real skin. That's what they really need to focus on to get to the photorealism. And hopefully this is what they do, because I feel like the last 3 generations are really like, it hasn't been much. I mean, really, when we took that step from the PS2, Xbox to the 360 and PS3, that's when it kind of took that next step. I feel like that was the big step. I feel like, well, maybe on the PS2 side it was bigger. On the Xbox, if you're an Xbox guy, that step really wasn't that big in the beginning. It was like I was looking at the new games in the 360 and the PS3, and I was like, bro, these look like Xbox games. Like Xbox was way ahead of its time, people. It had all kinds of different effects that were like the future, specular highlights and all but what was it? A bump mapping and normal maps and all this stuff. The Xbox did almost everything the new generation did, but that generation was the big step. When we stepped outside of the PS2 to that Xbox 360, PS3 generation, that's where it got real big. But then we went into the PS4 gen, and I was like, it looks good, but it's like, it looked kind of like Xbox still. And then we went into this generation now, and I'm like, hey, it kind of looks still like, it looks sort of like still like the Xbox 360 generation. The PS3, Xbox 360 generation. It's sort of like a refined version. This generation now looks very similar to the PS4, Xbox One generation. All the way to the point that we're actually playing Xbox One, PS4 games right now. Almost every game is on the last gen that we're playing right now. So like, people, where the fuck is the next gen? I'm still waiting for the next gen to come. Right? Let's watch some more of this.
Your eye's not going to be really able to see that, and you're going to be perfectly happy with 60 frames a second if it's running at 8K. It's going to look brilliant. Remember, film.
People, this is where I don't agree with Michael Pachter. 8K, people, is useless. We don't need 8K unless you're playing with an enormous monitor in front of your face. We don't need 8K. If you're sitting on a couch, 4K is just fine.
It's 24 frames.
4K is just fine with just sitting next to the monitor, people. 8K is not needed. Look. You can go watch a CGI film from 20 years ago, and it could be running at 480p. And you could be looking at a video game that's made right now that's running at 4K or 8K. And that 480p film that is done in CGI is going to blow away your video game. Go look at Jurassic Park, people. Go look at Jurassic Park from the 90s. And then go look at a dinosaur in a video game that's in 4K today. That Jurassic Park shit will blow that shit out the world. It's not all about resolution, people. It's not.
Second, but just keep that in mind that, we all think, what 240 is better than 60. Film movies are 24, so your eye is really happy with 24 if it's in stunning, really super detailed HD. So I think we're getting, to the point where the next gen and the next gen and the next gen are just diminishing returns. You don't get as much graphic fidelity that you can.
That's not true. That's not true. Like I said, the dream is to bring CGI, movie quality CGI, to real-time graphics. So when you look at all those Marvel movies and all that, and you see the buildings falling down and, all these crazy effects, they want to bring that quality into real-time graphics. And that is the goal, and they're going to keep pushing for it. And they brought in the ray tracing now, this generation, and real-time ray tracing, and it's not very good. Right now, it's not good. It's not that great on the PC, and it's not that great on the consoles. But they're going to keep pushing it to the point that all the materials are ray traced. It's going to get to the point that ray tracing is going to be, you're going to see tons of ray tracing. And these systems are going to be able to do it easily. They're going to keep pushing till they can just pump out loads of ray tracing.
About that you can see. And, Shane and I have a kind of a funny ongoing joke about 4K TV. Like I literally bought my first 4K TV to play PS5. And I watch everything on it, and there's hardly any content. Like Netflix is on it, I can see it, but it doesn't look dramatically better. And my HBO Max account, I think, I don't even know if that comes out at 4K. It might. I don't know. So I can't tell. So if I watch Industry or I watch a Netflix show, HBO or Max or a Netflix show, I don't even remember that I'm watching on 4K TV because it looks great. So I think we're at that point of no return, of diminishing return.
I don't agree at all. Not at all. Sorry, people, that wasn't the point of watching this. This was about the PS5 Pro, but what he's saying here, I don't agree with. If this was true, there wouldn't even be a PS5 Pro. What would be the point of it, right? People they want more graphics. Look, if people don't buy this at all, then what he's saying is true. People don't give a shit, right? That could be true. But the thing is that we haven't hit that point where this stuff is looking completely different. We haven't hit that point where you're looking at the PS5 or the PS4 and you're thinking, wow, this PS7 looks, because the only PS7 only means anything when the graphics are so much better that you can really see that difference. Because right now, we're really not seeing a huge difference between the PS4 graphics and the PS5 graphics, right? We're only, for the most part, we're seeing like an improvement in frame rates. And this really was, the one of the big reasons this happened, I think, is because the next revolution in gaming when it comes to graphics is ray tracing. Ray tracing. And in reality, it should be ray tracing and physics. But yeah, I think ray tracing has a lot to do with physics as well. But the next revolution in gaming, I think, really is ray tracing and physics. And so since these systems can't really do ray tracing well, they do it okay. They do the bare minimum when it comes to ray tracing. What they've done is they made it where these games many of them don't do ray tracing. And so they do higher frame rates, right? They'll do higher frame rates. So we're used to games now being 60 frames, which is a new thing for consoles, because most times the standard for consoles was to push these systems to the metal, as they say, and then to have them at 30 frames. Now we can have 60 because we really cannot do ray tracing. So when we do the ray tracing and all these advanced effects, now the games are 30 frames. And this is what we saw in titles like Hellblade 2, right? Hellblade 2, possibly, what's the other one? Starfield. There's some other games. Sony might put out some. Sony hasn't really built any games that were specifically built for the PS5. Almost nothing. Basically everything that Sony's put out this generation can run on a PS4. We really haven't even gone into the next generation. The closest thing to next gen technology we've seen is the Unreal Engine 5. And from what I hear, it does not run very well on either system, both Xbox and the PlayStation. It runs a little better on the Xbox for some reason, from what I hear. But that is the next generation technology, the Unreal Engine 5. This is why when you look at a game like Hellblade 2, that's Unreal Engine 5 and it runs at 30 frames with the bells and whistles. So that's getting closer to the next gen. And we're almost 5 years into this console generation, and we're just now getting into what this generation should have been 5 years ago. It's some crazy stuff. So Michael Pachter, I don't agree with him at all when he brings up this old argument that people have been saying forever. Back in the day when we played our PS1s and our PS2s, we were all like, no, it could never get better than this. And then guess what? It got better.
I think the console business is changing the model to not selling you as much content, but play the content forever and enjoy Call of Duty Warzone as part of the Call of Duty experience and keep generating revenue. So Sony, has this as the live service model, and gamers hate that. You can't lead with live service. Live service has to supplement. I think the guys who have figured out how to do it right are Ultimate Team and GTA Online, because it feels natural. It feels like you're getting more content as part of your game purchasing. You don't have to buy the content if you don't want to. So that's been the evolution of the model. I think that is kind of where we're going. I don't think selling consoles is really the answer anymore. I think Game Pass, which essentially doesn't require a console, is the future. Although, lag, the latency is...
Yeah, it's the future of money. That's what it is. This is the problem with the gaming industry now. They're all going towards just straight up fucking greed. It's not enough. They're making all this money. All this AI shit that they're coming up with right now is actually making game development cheaper. So why is it that they have to keep taking things away from us? Oh, now, bro, you don't have a piece of hardware. You stream everything. We're going to stream our games. We're just going to give you a controller.
Going to continue to be a problem for multiplayer. So people who want to play multiplayer at zero latency are going to keep buying consoles. That's great. Game Pass is going to get better and better and better. But what I think is going to happen is Game Pass is going to bring in 100 million new subscribers, new players who might decide they want to go buy a console. And I think Sony's just trying to make sure if that happens, we can sell them, PS5 Pro. So, well, I'd say PS6 realistically has to be the PS5 Pro on steroids, right? So it has to have all the same components, and then upgrade the graphics even more, upgrade the microprocessor if it's possible even more. So, PS5 Pro runs really comfortably at 60, can run at 120. PS6 has to run at 120 comfortably, so it's got to be faster. This AMD Intel,
it doesn't have to run at 120, okay? It doesn't. 60's fine. It just needs to have a revolution in physics, in lighting, and in mechanics. The games nowadays, they just don't have enough mechanics. They're just doing all the same stuff. They need to start doing layered animations and mechanics. So, for example, you have a shooting game, and now the shooting game has platforming, and it also has a very detailed combat system, like a fist fighting system or a karate system. You add all these layered animations and sophisticated combat systems to the game. Right now, what we have is first-person shooter, and what do you have in that first-person shooter? You just have you shooting shit. That's all it is. You want to see the next step in first-person shooters, you look at something like Call of Duty Black Ops, the new one. I forgot what number it is, but the new Black Ops. You see it has something they call the Omni something movement system. It's kind of, to me, it reminds me of Max Payne in first person. But to me, that's next gen. To add this kind of new layer, right? This next layer. It's not just, we just point and shoot at shit. No, it's got all this sophisticated physics and movements that you never had in any other shooter. Yes, it was in 3D, it was in third-person action games, but now it's in a first-person shooter. We've never seen that before. Never seen it. And that requires some physics and some other sophisticated technology to do that. So I think this is really the next step in gaming is they need to start adding more layered systems. Like, again, if you look at something like Gears of War, when that came out, that did things that never happened in the older systems because they could never do those sophisticated animations at the same time with other animations. So, for example, running and reloading at the same time, right? In Gears of War, you can do the running and the reloading. It's the two animations at the same time. And then you go and you slam into a wall and you go around cover. You're doing all this cover stuff all really fast. All these animations happening all over the place. That's next gen. Also, again, things like sophisticated physics system, the sophisticated lighting systems. There's all kinds of stuff they can't do on these systems now, or they're not doing. They're just fucking lazy. They don't want to start putting these. One of the biggest revolutions in gaming, I think, is to start layering these things. Start adding all these other mechanics to establish gameplay types. So you have a first-person shooter that has a sophisticated, maybe possibly like Street Fighter or like a Street Fighter style combat system within it, or like even like a simulation, like a Fight Night boxing system within a first-person shooter. So you're like, yo, my gun is empty. Boom, you put it down, you smack the guy with the gun, you punch him in the face with a haymaker, and you do all the same mechanics you find in those other games. So it's like multi-layered animations and technology. They just bring it all into one title. It's not just point and shoot. It's all this other stuff layered into it. So that's part of the advancement of gaming and bringing in all these systems. And there's technical limitations to these systems, so they can't bring all these systems into one game. But the future of gaming is what is going to bring this stuff in. We can't just have point and click anymore, people. You got to start bringing in all this other stuff. And again, if you want to see an example of this, you look at stuff like the new Call of Duty. That's one example of this.
The reason that was news is because the chip contract is going to be a big deal. And so that they're definitely paying something for the chip, and they're paying more than they're currently paying. So I would guess that 700 is kind of the floor for an entry point for the PS6. I do think that consoles of the future will have no disk drive, so there will not be discs. So buy GameStop. I think GameStop knows that. I think they're winding down, and they're kind of slowly going out of business.
I think it's gross that he says that like it's nothing. You're talking about jobs being lost for possibly millions of people. You're talking about death of small business. I've said this, if you guys have been on my channel when it comes to the gaming content, I've spoken about this many, many times. This is one of my biggest worries when it comes to the gaming industry. And I spoke about this, and now we have one of the highest level gaming analysts in the world, possibly, talking about this, and he's okay with it. He's like, oh, bye GameStop. This is not a good thing. How is this a fucking good thing? It's not. There's nothing good about this. This gives all the power to Sony and Microsoft and them. It gives them all the power, and it takes it all away from you, and it takes it away from the general public. All the mom and pop shops, bye-bye. GameStop, gone. Gaming retail, dead. Right? Now we got to just buy all their digital shit. Not only do you not own it, but they control the pricing. There's no competition anymore. So if they want to make Call of Duty $100 forever, they can do that. And they'll lock you into, oh, well, you could just get a subscription to PlayStation Live or Xbox Live. This is terrible. This is terrible. It really is not cool.
So that the CEO there can just run their $4 billion that he raised from the fools who invest in GameStop, the cult. But yeah, I think the next gen consoles have no disk drive. We don't see physical media ever made again. That's one way to.
I called this shit out a while ago, and when it happens, I'm moving straight to PC, and I'm gonna be removing all that fucking DRM from all the shit I buy. If I spend $70 on a digital game, I own that shit. I ain't getting some glorified fucking, rental. That's what it is. It's a glorified rental when you're buying these games nowadays. 70 fucking people, you should refuse this. You should never spend anything more than, if they make this where the shit is all DRM and you cannot own a title, you say that if that game's not $10, I ain't buying it.
They cut costs. It runs a little cooler if you don't have all the stuff, and it takes a little less power to run it. But realistically, $700 is kind of the new base price for a console. So that they're telling you that. Now, I say that before the PS5
You spend $700 and you can go buy fucking games that you don't even own.
Pro launches. One of the things in the PS5 Pro introduction was you can reserve a copy, you can pre-order it at PlayStation.com on September 26th. They've done that with PSVR, PSVR 2, and they stuck with that. You couldn't pre-order it at Costco or Walmart or GameStop or Best Buy. This time they said, but on October 10th, two walking weeks later.
What the fuck is he doing? He's like, this fucking video he's showing is flickering all over the place. It's annoying me. I gotta skip this slightly, people. I'm sorry. It's gonna give me a damn seizure.
And the device doesn't launch till November 5th. So why would you go to Best Buy or GameStop instead of PlayStation.com? Because PlayStation.com doesn't have a store that you can pick it up in. And Best Buy, GameStop, Costco, Walmart, they'll all get their units. I haven't looked up November 5th. I assume it's a Friday. But they'll all get their units on Tuesday. And so they'll let you know as soon as the unit is in that you'll get your PS5 Pro a day or two early. So people are going to pre-order through those guys. But my point is, Sony doesn't expect massive orders, or they would keep it all to themselves, which is what they do with VR1 and VR2. I expect that that's really telling you that they're pretty skeptical that a $700 price point is going to resonate with consumers. We'll see. I mean, again, if it sells 10 million units, I will eat my words to say, wow, the PS6 is going to be $800 or $900. Maybe. We've had inflation. We pay more for eggs and bacon, so maybe we'll do PlayStations. I don't know. We'll find out. Again, it's here. The fanboy should be happy. You're getting something cool.
It's here. It's queer. It's fucking trash.
Well, if you have $700, to me, $700 is a lot of money. It's like more than one nice dinner out. How does?
Yeah, bro, it's more than one nice dinner out. $700. Where the fuck are you eating at? Yeah, I know there's some restaurants that are very expensive. I've gone to some. I've spent a good amount of money buying sushi in the city. I once saw Martha Stewart at a sushi restaurant in Manhattan, and she gave me a weird look. She probably thought I was sexy. Just saying. All right, people. So here you go. There's the future of gaming. It's a bunch of bullshit. I already showed it, you guys. I put out a video just the other day, and by the other day, I mean yesterday. It's talking about all the shit that Sony's doing that the Xbox was blamed for, even though they're doing a way better job when it comes to the console console ecosystem, or whatever you want to say it. They're doing some DRM shit as well, but they're also engaging in game preservation. This is why they keep pushing for backwards compatibility and the ability to literally put the discs in your Xbox and they get upgraded. Isn't that crazy? You can literally take an old original Xbox One game, from like 2002, put it in your Xbox Series X, and the shit it plays in 4K, 60 frames, 100 frames, bro, it's like crazy. That's amazing preservation, isn't it? Sony's not doing any of that shit. You can't pop a PS1 game in a PS3 well, you could in a PS3. You can't pop a PS1 game in a PS4 or a PS5 or a PS4, PS5 Pro. You can't pop no discs in those things. They literally don't have a disc drive on a fucking PlayStation 5 Pro. So obviously you can't put no discs in there. But on the one before it, the PS5, basic PS5, or we'll say the PS4, you can't put no fucking PS2 games in there, PS1 games, and just play them. No, but on the competition you can. So they're pushing more towards preservation. So we should at least give them a little respect for that shit, right? Give them a little bit of respect. But not a fan of this, people, and the fake 4K and the pisser technology and all this bullshit, the digital only. Fuck Sony, people. Fuck them. I like my PS5. It's kind of cool, but all this digital shit and this DRM they're doing on everything, not a fan. I think anyone who wants the higher performance should probably just go to PC, because that's where you can kind of get rid of this DRM. You can get rid of it. You can use mods or whatever the fuck's put out there. Sorry for cursing so much. You can get rid of a lot of this DRM, play your games without an internet connection. You actually own them after you pay for them, because I think when you spend fucking $70 or more on a game, you should own it. It should be yours. You shouldn't have to pay freaking, $50, $100 a month for an internet plan in order to play the game that you purchased for $70, $80, $90, $100, right? Is that fair? Can I please play? Can I play my game that I paid for, right? For the console that I purchased with my hard-earned money, right? I purchased the console for $500, $700, and I purchased the game for $70. Can I play it without having to now have a internet plan that costs another $100 a month? No, I can't, right? That's not cool. Just because you want to keep every fucking dime, right? You don't want me to go out and buy a used game or play a game that might be pirated, right? It's like, bro, come on. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I don't want to be connected to the internet all the time to play this stuff. And actually I can't be. Many times, you're on the train or the bus, you get a bad reception, and now what? I can't connect to the thing, so I can't play it. This is a very bad future for gaming. This is a very shitty thing. And any company that engages in this, you shouldn't support them. All right, people, I'm going to be getting out of here. I want to thank you for joining me. This is a very late edition of Foo Gaming. This is a very late edition. Remember to subscribe to the Real Food TV, people. It is the greatest channel known to man. This is the Real Food TV, and you've been watching PS5 Pro fanboys, and it says pisser there and all that. This is Foo Gaming, people. Have yourselves a good night. See you later. See you tomorrow. All right.